Hello, very warm welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today for our 5% enhancement webinar. We are literally taking a deep dive for 30 very, very, very short but jam-packed minutes. I have the absolute pleasure to be joined today by Michelle Kelthy, an absolute heavyweight in retailing with a wonderful career all the way through from sales, starting off with the Ritz-Carlton in 2003 and just here today, 2025, with some record-breaking numbers behind her, awards being denoted, and really extraordinary care from the Ritz-Carlton in Naples. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about how is it then from just offering to just 25% of your clients, then you can generate up to about 72%. So that's if everybody was offered and only 25% of your clients actually took an enhancement, an add-on, that could generate that additional revenue. And that right here, right now in this climate is absolutely key and critical as we're moving in a couple of weeks away from the holiday season. The subject of enhancements is really this excellent specialization, but this fragile formula for which we're going to be presenting to you today. Your team know exactly what to recommend without a shadow of a doubt, but they don't. And that why is what fascinates us, and looking at those pain points, that guilt that they're feeling, and looking at how we can reframe that. What's getting in their way? What barriers are getting in their way? So the deep work that Michelle and I have done in this area brings together this presentation to really look at what is this enhancement formula? What are these specific windows that are key and central? How we can frame to say yes to get more yeses, and then looking at a plan, taking some of that best practice that Michelle's implemented and many of my clients have implemented across the board to how we can really build that foundation and be successful every time. Myself, Michaela, I take that pain out of selling, that psychology and understanding of what gets in my way, your way, and in the guest's way to get that deeper experience, to feel emotionally connected to the service that you're delivering. And that's really been my focus, whether it be in leadership or whether it be in sales across the board, with over 18 years of consulting and that deep curiosity and fascination, put my teeth in, with other humans. Michelle joined us, as I mentioned, 2003 after just a phenomenal career up to point, but really just been moving very, very quickly to the advisory board, recipient of award. And then in 2019, as I mentioned, she was the first spa director in North America to hit 1.5 million in retail revenue alone. Welcome, Michelle. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. The deep dive that we've established together is looking at this wall, this interconnected 5 pieces that are built up of really elements that drive that recommendation. I'm going to talk and walk us through a few of those, and Michelle's going to jump in and pipe in. As I said, we've got so much to cover today, but this trust issue for us both is absolutely key. How we can have that space, that feeling, that sentiment, how we can systematically, scientifically build that, allowing that vulnerability and that trust to occur. What are those elements that take place for that to happen, whether it be empathy, that feeling, but how can we make sure that guests feel confident in us, have that trust and that sentiment to hear us? Michelle and I have been using disc profiling to have that space, to have that connection, that understanding who you are and understanding who the guest is, and reading the body language between us, your body language that you hold, and that of your guest, to be able to really close that gap between the communication process. Michelle, did I jump a slide? I think you were. I jumped a slide too quick and I didn't ask you. You've been using disc profiling for a wee while. Tell us a little bit about how that works for your team. How have you managed to successfully implement that so that you can build trust between your guests and team?
Oh, thank you. So I think one of the most important aspects of the disc profiling is that the employees, ladies and gentlemen here at the Ritz-Carlton Naples, they have an understanding of how they can serve best the guest. So, the D, the I, the C, the S, they're able to determine what personality
Yeah.
is before them, and they can adjust their own personality or mirror the client basically, and to serve them at best that they want. So, for example, a D can be a little bit more direct, dominant, which I'm sure you'll review everything here. Well, if they want something done fast, then the employee, the front desk agent, is going to be able to serve that guest, be able to book their appointment for them, be able to get the home care recommendations for them, and then they'll be on their way. So just mirroring whatever the profile is, but also it's really important that the each employee gets to understand each other as well. So they also get to know each other's profile and again how they can best interact with each other on the job during the time that they're here at the spa. So it goes in many different ways, from guest service to also assisting each other as well. And then that employee is able to best serve the guest, especially when we are working with Forbes standards here at the spa.
Fantastic, super comprehensive. So it's really that backbone, really to really smooth out the communication and get that interconnection, that rapport, that natural trust between yourselves first, and then going on to build it with the customers. Timing is the second window that we had. It's timing, looking at these three specific windows, whether it be that we're looking at the booking, time of booking, and the value of that. And Michelle shares a great story with her reservations team who take really just in calls. There's no online booking. And so that brings a lovely case study to look at the value of actually the motivation that the guest holds as they're booking and the value of adding that at that time. We've also got the arrival opportunity and then in the consult. But Michelle, share with us a little bit about what your reservations team, what have you trained and taught them to do that they continue to do to see success adding enhancements in?
Oh yes, so it's really important that you ask open-ended questions. So, for example, a guest comes to the front desk to book a massage, check in for their massage, and the front desk agent is going to be, well, first of all, mirroring them, but they're also going to be asking them questions, and they got to ask them questions that are not yes or no answers. So, for example, can you share with me how you're feeling today? Do you have any areas of concern that I can make some notes for our therapist today? And the guest will say, yes, my shoulder or my neck. And then they can maybe share with them that perhaps we can add on a CBD enhancement, or we can add on some body brushing, all based on where they have their concerns today. And they can add that on. And make a suggestion, a professional suggestion to add this onto their treatment, rather than asking them, do you want to add an enhancement? And the guest is going to say no. So it's
fantastic.
important.
No, but that's absolutely brilliant in the sense that you're asking them, you're building that and really building that need and the benefit back to the guest. I love that. I think depending on your software, you're going to be able to have that opportunity to add that, have that already structured in. But really, when you're looking to build the value, the way that Michelle's team asks the questions and builds the experience with the guest is the optimum. Moving also, let's look at just when those conversion rates, see what we see is that at booking, depending on whether you're able to have that conversation and ask at arrival a little bit lower, but really in treatment with that therapist deeply concerned, feeling the need as they're doing the intake form in real time is the optimum time to get that conversion.
Yeah, and sometimes, a lot of the time also, perhaps the front desk agent added an enhancement on, and then they're with the therapist, and the therapist may add another one on because they also have asked specific questions and they feel that they need to suggest a different enhancement or an additional enhancement. So it can work both ways.
Excellent. You have many cases of, our stats, the stats that I shared at the beginning of just opening up with asking everybody give or take, and 25% of your guests or clients taking that upseller enhancement, whether it be the hot stones or the CBD oil. But you have many clients that take multiple enhancements. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yeah. But again, it's all based on that conversation you're having with the guests. So, after after you have been and trained our team many times and layers of, obviously with some of the older staff and the new staff, well, they are very confident in asking and being able to ask questions of the guest and also picking on their profile style. So they have a very organic conversation with the guest. They're picking up on their profile style and they feel very confident in making their suggestions.
It's fantastic. That's wonderful. So the value then that we create, so we're really talking about, not, literally what it is, but really what it's doing for the guest, always framing it in that benefit and in that outcome. Confidence, as Michelle just touched on, is really key and central. That product knowledge matched with personal experience and practice really leads to confidence. I know Michelle's got oodles of stories. I know you have a great relationship with some of your vendors, Michelle, and I know also you have a great story about your personal experience, how you build that into the team, how they really get to know your services and treatments. I don't know which one you want to jump in with first.
Well, yeah, well, I could go into the retail because now, enhancements, whether they're in the room or at the front desk, that's pretty straightforward as long as you are not asking those, yes or no questions. You have to tie it into something the guest has told you. But one area where we had a young lady who was very knowledgeable in skincare, she just joined us and she had an incredible touch, an incredible esthetician, and she was having zero for her retail results on on a regular basis. We brought in some of our vendors in to work with her, and she was struggling, and so I worked with her and I worked on some of these questions that are really important to ask the guests in regards to what are your concerns today, what products are you using now, the normal, but I had shared with her that if you get the guest permission when you are working with your guests. So, Mrs. Smith, today you've told me X about your skin. You've told me what you're using on your skin. You told me what your main concerns are. I'm going to be performing this facial for you today, and at the very end, I'm going to give you some home care advice to take home with you. How does that sound to you? So simple. And she was off. We literally did a role play with it. I got in the room with her, and that afternoon she actually sold $2,000, and she's been one of our top sellers since. So just some of the easy ways you as a director or a manager can get in there and use just some organic language to just really help to figure out and get out from the guests what you want to hear, and then you can make those recommendations. So given the confidence was obviously with our esthetician, and that can be the same with the enhancements as well.
Excellent. That's a great story. You mentioned a little bit about vendors, a little bit about using that and really using that relationship to leverage and to build that product knowledge. How tell us a little bit about some of those that work really well for you?
Okay, so what we do
Yeah.
here at the end of every year, or beginning of every year, we'll sit with each therapist, each esthetician, each service provider, basically, and we'll review their year. So we'll review the results of the year. And we will then ask them to give us the goals that they're going to set for themselves. So, for example, they'll set a goal for, I don't know, in 6 months' time, I'm going to reach $10,000 in retail, and I'm going to reach X amount in enhancements based on what I did last year. So they're going to, elevate it slightly, but they are the ones that make their own goals and make their commitments. And what we say is, okay, you've set this for the first 6 months. We do the first 6 months first. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to check in with you 3 months in and see if you are winning or you're needing some help to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself. Now, what we add into those incentives as we go along, so the employee will set their own goals. We're going to help them to achieve those goals, and we're going to do regular check-ins. We also work with our vendors. And so, for example, we work with a great CBD line called Akeley Farm. And what they do, they assist us with our employees and they'll help to set some incentives. So some separate incentives that will help them to achieve their goals. And the highest over will be able to choose their own products that they can then use. And that's been really successful. And It's not something that no one's ever done before. A lot of spa directors will work this way, but then Akerley will actually support the employee, and each month they get to choose, the winners get to choose the products they want to use for that month. So highest over 5 products, you get a product. We've got some employees that are walking away with 8 products each month because they're selling so much of this brand. And then we have another skincare company that does the same, and they'll set some goals, and then the employees can have those products also. Personally, in the spa as well, myself and my manager will also set monthly incentives to everybody. And we do that based on percentage, not just a dollar amount. So it gives everyone a fair chance to win. And you can see that on some of these incentive goals and sheets that you see here. So it's collectively a lot of different things in regards to vendors that support with product, and then the monthly incentives where our team can win, a $50 gift card to Amazon or to Target or whatever that may be. So they're winning little things along the way, and then they're also moving that needle towards the goal that they want to set themselves. And of course, they're making their commissions. So it's kind of a real. And each month, in fact, every week, we actually will print out what the results are, and where everybody is in regards to their monthly incentives percentage wise. And again, we'll encourage them, or we'll sit with, if employees are struggling, then we'll sit and we'll set up some time with either myself or with a vendor, and they can go through and help them with their product knowledge or any areas that they need. So we always have our finger on the button, but in a very encouraging way. No one ever feels pressured, and that's the key to it. It's not pressure, it's not sales, it's home care advice, because at the end of the day, and also tying in Forbes, our guests want to walk away and be able to continue the good work that they've done today with their therapist at home.
Fantastic. And I think that's where this is such an in time, just on point, because all those transactional pushes, that push for sales, it's felt, and it actually reduces the impact of that guest relation, that when we're adding in enhancements and allowing the guest to choose and deepen that experience, really allows them to get much more bang for the buck for the time, much more value from that. And then, of course, that lead to with home care and all those elements to ask, to push, really just get sometimes the opposite behaviors in the team. And so the way of really supporting and adding layers of goal setting, letting them lead, and then making it fun, seems to take the pressure off.
Yeah, there could be a couple of $100 away, maybe didn't check. You're nearly, you're a couple $100 away. That's very easy. Here's how you can do this, And also it rolls in under the employee satisfaction surveys that we do as well. It was something that was really important to our employees. They really like this recognition. They really love the rewards. They really love that, obviously, whatever they're, suggesting to their guests, it's always authentic and it's always correct. So they also love all of that. So it also, just all around, it makes everybody feel really elevated and really appreciated, and they see the rewards in their paychecks and in some of the little prizes. Another thing coming up to the holidays that we're doing currently is, we've already planned this, but we do kind of like a 10-day daily incentive over the holidays, and we prep some nice gift bags from some of our vendor supports. We've got some products there, maybe some gift cards, and every day we'll set a goal, and it's the highest over in each of the departments, whether it's massage, esthetician, salon, and each day somebody will win a nice gift basket. So we do 10 days and we do these gift baskets and we give them out along the way. So again, busiest week of the year, but our employees really love that as well, and they get excited, and we've already planned that, and it's just a staple that we do every year.
I love that when you're thinking about trust building, going back to that formula about what we think is a recipe for really establishing and delivering consistently and adding in enhancements with the incentives that you're running and these competitions and delivery tied in with employee engagement. You're able to deliver. They're asking you for something. You're able to consistently deliver that and reward that, whether it be in their paycheck, whether it be in their hand with the recognition, that consistency. That's huge. I mean, that's a beautiful wave of trust that you're generating across your teams. Phenomenal.
Yeah, good. It's kind of it's a formula that's worked for some time here, but you really have to keep your finger on the button with it, and you have to be consistent.
I think Thank you, Michelle. I think you walked us through already that great story that you had about and this slide just leans to just some of Michelle's best practice, giving everybody a chance to play, having, rewarding straight away, even though it seems like the punctual update and the reward, it seems like a nice to have, but it's part of the core success behind Michelle's approach of that importance where the recognition, the punctuality of the reward happens, and that it's really, standing on its own two feet, doesn't take mental capacity. Currently, it's an embedded system that's prioritized equally. And Michelle also mentioned her vendors working and supporting the great work that she does.
Yeah, one thing there also with when it goes to the home care recommendations, every guest is given a home care recommendation card. And also we train the team at the front desk as well. When they see that guest with that home care recommendation, they escort them and then into the boutique. When the guest checks in at the front desk, we have an enhancement tray. So we have the enhancements that we're going to suggest. So the guest can pick up the body brush or the hot stone, or they can pick up the CBD Acaliform oil that we use to enhance our treatments also. And so they will pick that up. And that's also another way of, oh yes, I'd really love to add that. So sometimes people will pick it up and say, I'd like to add this. We have the price list there of the enhancements, or they're going to make the suggestions from the front desk team or the in-room team. So there's lots of little areas there that you can tie it all in, and it's all very organic. And, the guest has the opportunities to either ask or it prompts the therapist.
Fabulous. That's great. Beautiful trust. Great story. So what we're seeing with some of these great takeaways is that before, when the staff are talking to us and they're saying, we don't have any time, these are typical symptoms where we've got this push and we've got this transaction. We're seeing that recommendations are just standardized and not individualized. And the guests are asked, depending on the therapist's mood. We'll see that incentives will help revenue climb, but then it'll peel off, and guests are typically feeling sold to. And so when we use the formula, the enhancement formula, starting with that trust, that big section on trust, on confidence, on relevance, on that value creation, we see that the team really stop freezing up. They're much more empowered and enabled. In that really it's much more about connecting those pieces in a natural, organic way, like Michelle has highlighted in many different approaches. The guests say yes much more often, which really starts that cycle as we're getting that deeper, wider guest experience that's seen more. So it isn't that it's particularly novel or there's something that we're plucking or something that's just been discovered, not at all. What the discovery is and what Michelle's presenting with her case is that excellence really comes from fitting those pieces consistently together and adding that value and importance of the work that we do. The numbers give that indication that the guest was heard, that the guest chose, and that they built that experience around their needs. And the results are there as a result, and the guests feel cared for, and the employee in turn gets that opportunity to really add and make that deeper difference. We've got a 21-day roadmap here of how and what it looks like, really looking at embracing initially. If you haven't got enhancements in already, then understanding and walking through the formula and identifying a couple of enhancements, really no more than 5 to begin with, and let the team's confidence build as they start to experience those. Tracking systems key. Michelle gave a flash of some of her back office tracking forms that they use and some of the work that goes into that. But that's key and critical to make sure that you can focus and reward the changes that you're looking for. Week 2 then would look like that you would be starting to role play and understand and add that value, practice what outcomes for the guest looks like from the enhancement, embracing DISC and using those quick reference cards that we'll be sharing with you after this session, to kind of see who you are and who's in front of you, to eliminate any tension so that you can be heard and build that value in an outcome-orientated way for each of those dominant, influential, steady, and cautious. We use this system across the board with all our clients, and it's insanely powerful and beautifully simple. Doesn't require tests, doesn't require anything except just reading and being present to read your own body language, to determine your emotional state, and then engage emotionally with the guest accordingly. We do a lot of support. We do workshops to teach and train the teams to do that. And there's many different supports, but give or take, if you're looking to implement within 21 days, you can make a great start with that. You're honing in prioritization, daily check-ins, as I said, just on week 2. And then by week 3, really mastering and looking at the system and identify those weaker elements. And I think share success stories, celebrate those conversions. But as Michelle has highlighted, some of that amazingness is that paying attention to the system that you're building, paying attention to successes, and really fine-tuning areas, whether it be that it all looks like it's there, but there might be that little confidence boost that's needed. Michelle, did you have some comments, my love?
No, I think that's it. I think consistency is key. Make it fun. And make it fun even for, you're always going to be there to motivate the team. And if you need to bring somebody in or even pair them up together, somebody who's, doing very well or is quite confident, and then pair them up with somebody else. So people will, employees will all help each other as well. But the key is consistency, recognize, reward, and people get really proud and they love it. And also, obviously, bring in new products, bring in new items, keep everything, new and also fresh as well for everybody. But important to bring in vendor training, even if it's just a Zoom call also. So just, also giving that, the knowledge, because our employees are thirsty for knowledge as well. And even our front desk agents, it's important that they also experience these treatments or they experience these enhancements so they know what to suggest. It's almost like working in a restaurant. You don't know what soup you're going to recommend or what meal you're going to recommend until you've tasted it. So
fabulous. Yeah. It's a beautiful summary. What Michelle and I are able to offer you is a full audit and really help you calculate your revenue potential and look at what's getting in the way and help build a customized plan. We've seen some ridiculous results, and really, over a short space of time, a little over a month, we've got some of our clients building up to over 47,000 in enhancements a quarter alone. That was from Kelly Connor. So really, with the holidays coming, hone on in, and look at how you can get your team much more ready and prepped. So click here on this QR code. Connect with us for any questions. Thank you so much, Michelle. Absolutely phenomenal. So much knowledge that you shared with us in such a short space of time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. You were amazing.